We did it. We're back.
We're live. Everyone that's on here watching, we appreciate your viewership. We've been doing this since May? You came in here in April or May, so
yeah,
we're still going, baby.
I think this is episode 20.
Dude, this is a big deal.
Yeah, this is massive. Let me check just because I don't want to be wrong, but I'm like pretty sure. I mean, that's the big 2-0. Yeah, this is episode 20. So if you look at podcast stats, it's crazy. Like 50 of them don't make it past like episode 2, and then it just gets less and less with each one. So hey, we're still kicking, baby.
We're still here. Like, do we have like 6 views per video? Sure, but that doesn't. We're not going to talk about that. We're talking about the fact that we're still here. It's episode 20, and with episode 20 comes, probably one of the best episodes we'll shoot, which is, diving deeper. I think we talked about this in the beginning, but we're going to go into more detail on like what your goals are, how you got in the mortgage business, why you're in the mortgage business. We're going to let the audience really get they're going to dissect you. They're going to get a good framework of who you are. Like, who is Kyle Hendricks? So
yeah, let's do it. I'm for the people listening, Goody just kind of said this the other day. He's like, hey, I'm just going to interview you on this next one. So I literally have no idea what's coming, but it's 6-something a.m. here, and I'm ready to rock. Let's just start the day off here with a little surprise.
Shout out to Kyle as well. Like I said, I've been having some difficulties, but he's up early to shoot, which is, we can't thank him enough on behalf of me and the I Think You Should Buy podcast crew. So we're going to jump right in. Before I get into some more detailed questions, and keep in mind, trying to crank this in 20 to 25 minutes, be a little diligent in your answers, but give us some feedback, like just right off the bat, like who's Kyle Hendricks? What's going on in the last like 30 days or even year? We know you just got married. You're in Hawaii now. You're obviously a mortgage loan officer. Like, who are you as a person? If somebody was to come up and ask you, like, hey, tell me about yourself.
Yeah, like a super quick elevator pitch. I would say grew up in Washington, obviously with you, just right down the street, probably like a mile away. Grew up, my parents were divorced, which was kind of a blessing in my eyes because I kind of had 2 separate families, and a bunch of young siblings came out of it, which I'm close with all of them to this day, and have essentially 2 families, which is, I can't be thankful enough for. So kind of grew up going back and forth between my mom's and dad's house, have a bunch of younger brothers and sisters. Family's always first. So I'd say, that's a big thing. And I'm going home in a few days to go visit, and I'm super excited for. But grew up in Puyallup, went off to WSU, which we also rooted together in college, year 1. Shout out, what was the name? Straight Parham. Yeah, 4th floor.
Parham side. So
yeah, we were on the Parham side, 4th floor. Shout out. And then went to school for finance. I kind of always knew that I wanted to invest in real estate. I grew up, my grandpa had made a good living on the railroad and stuff like that, and ended up but he wasn't making just tons of money or anything like that. He would just make a smart decision every few years. Buy a rental property that was kind of a fixer. He'd fix it up, turn it into a rental. And when I was growing up, when a house needed a new roof or paint or whatever, a lot of the time I was getting drug out to do some of that work. So kind of picked up on that at a young age and was like, hey, I want to invest in real estate. So went and got my finance degree and was like, hey, if I'm going to, I kind of want to invest in real estate. Why not see if I could do that for a living too? And then just be immersed in it all the time. That would just go hand in hand. And then kind of stumbled into this job. There was a few more like right out of college, but, got here pretty quickly. I think started when I was 22 or 23, I think 22 maybe. And, haven't really looked back. I've always wanted to get in from the investing side of things. And that's kind of how I found my career. I've been lucky to have really good role models with like my grandpa, like I just said right there. My other grandparents are super, they invest as well and are really just good role models, not just financially, but just, as life, as are my parents. So I got lucky to have like a really good support system and a good group of people around me. And yeah, I would say that's kind of like the short keynotes version, a little bit about life and a little bit how I ended up kind of in this line of work.
Well, awesome. I think all that is definitely good to know. Yeah. So you've been in the mortgage business for how long now? 4 or 5 years?
Yeah,
Or
I think
what, 3 or 4 years maybe?
I think I've been doing lending for about 5.5, but I've been doing mortgages specifically for about 4.5, coming up on 5 here, like at the new year.
Okay. So with that, I think if any and people that have already listened to other of our podcasts and are aware of what the market's been doing, like over time with what we do, most of our businesses repeat clients, and we're trying to continue to service either people that are referred to us or people that we already communicate with, know, like, and trust. What strategies have you used or do you use still moving forward to keep client relationships strong and then maintain their trust? Because obviously after they buy a house, you might not um, work with them or have another transaction. They might not buy a house or refinance their house for another 2 years.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of it is built in the first transaction. Like, my philosophy is do such a good job that even if it's 10 years later until they buy another home or refinance, that when they're going to do it, they're going to instantly think, I'm going to call Kyle because my first experience was so good. And in that way, to be honest, you don't need to follow up and stay top of mind as much, because if you just take care of them, listen to them, make them feel like they're not just another number or a paycheck, like that you actually care about doing a good job for them and getting them what they want. I think that does a lot of the work for you. That being said, there's a lot there's a lot to follow up and things like that. And to be honest, that's an area of my business that I really need to work on. It's something that I think is so important and something that I haven't been great at. A lot of my clients are people, we're two people that we don't pay for leads and things like that. Everything comes from word of mouth or referral or someone who knows someone or someone that saw something on social or whatever it might be. But those clients so a lot of them, it's easy because they're in my sphere. I'm seeing them anyway. One thing that I think I do really well is I do a weekly market video update to all my referral partners, all my clients, and my sphere, things like that, where I just do like a little 2 to 4 minute video every week. Like, my thing is like, hey, you can watch this while you drink your Monday or Tuesday, a cup of coffee. It's going to be super quick. Just like, hey, this is what rates are doing. This is what some crazy thing happened in the market, whether it be the last couple of years, whether it be a war or a strike or, whatever it might be, something that's going to change the stock markets that might affect mortgage rates, or this is what home prices are doing. Just so anyone that ever does a loan with me is getting that once a week. And I don't need to go super long on this answer, but that's something I do really well. I need to get better about just calling everybody once a quarter, a couple times a year, something like that.
Makes it more personal. And
yeah, just checking in with them a little bit more. So to be honest, that's something that's, on my whiteboard for 2025 to get better at. But
yeah, well, I think it's super important to keep people in the know, especially past clients. And not only are you providing something of value, but now they understand that you're doing the work behind the scenes and look at you as a trusted professional that knows what he's talking about, is up to speed with everything that's going on. That would be an importance to them when they're going to buy or refinance a mortgage. So I think that's great. Dude.
And if I can add on just like one little short thing to that too,
we can't, dude. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, just because we've talked about this before, like how I don't really feel like a salesperson a lot of the times, even though that's kind of what our job is. I used to feel like, I don't want to do past client calls. Like, I feel like that's just bugging them. I don't want to call them and be like, hey, do you know anyone that I can help or things like that? But at a certain point, like, something clicked where it's like, you're doing a disservice to your clients if you don't do that. Like,
right.
if you can't pick up the phone and just call them a couple times a year and just say, hey, just checking in, making sure that mortgage that we put you in 2 years ago is still meeting all your goals, or if there's, so maybe you need to pull some cash out. Maybe we're wanting to move. Maybe you want to refinance, save some money on your monthly payment, whatever it might be. Or just to check in and just be like, hey, just making sure everything's all good. If you're not doing that, you're doing a disservice to your clients. Like, it's not like you're bothering them. Worst case scenario, they're like, nope, everything's all good. And it's like, cool, well, I'll talk to you in another 6 months or whatever it might be. But getting over that hurdle was big, just because I'm always like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, hey, got any business for me? But just checking in and making sure that they're happy. Like, that could be a 30-second phone call. I think that was a big switch that flipped for me too.
Totally. That you make a great point. I think it's a huge part of doing business as a business owner is staying in front of your clients, but it doesn't always have to be business related. I think a lot of people that are run their own business have that same mentality. And I always just go back to like Bree and I, we always value when people that we've worked with or have done business with, like we just got turf installed and the guy called us the day after and was like, hey, how does it look? How is everything? Is it great? Yeah, we're like, yeah, of course. Like, will you leave me a review? I'm like, of course I will. Like, I value somebody that's going to, like, he's still selling something, but when you're doing it in a genuine way, it doesn't feel salesy. Even if I know he's still selling it, he still wants the review. I want a review, so why would I not give it to him? So we don't have to go too much on that, but I think that was a great answer. I want to keep going on these questions because I think there's a lot of good ones in here. With rates, they went up, say like end of 22, creeped up more so in beginning of 2023. How did you stay motivated during that downward turn? And then with interest rates fluctuating, what advice would you give somebody else that either is jumping into the mortgage business now or even is just in some kind of sales role where whatever they're selling or whatever they're doing day to day is slower than it was 6 months ago? Like how to stay motivated to keep doing that from your experience and perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a hard one to answer because, to be honest, it was hard to keep the motivation at some points, just because, like as we talked about before, just being transparent. Some of the times in the last couple of years were tough. The money was not necessarily just rolling in a lot of the time, and sometimes it was just trying to keep my head above water, which I think that in a form is motivation too, because it was like, hey, this is a really hard market. There was a lot of stats. They always range, but like I think 40% of real estate agents, and it was pretty similar to loan officers, year over year didn't renew their licenses. So a huge exit in the industry because there wasn't enough to go around. And I think my motivation, to be honest, was just be able to survive this, just be able to stick this out. Because if you are one of the ones that do, and half of the people are gone 2 years from now, you're going to be in a great position. And so people don't want to work with someone who can only survive a good market. If you can only survive good markets, you haven't built a business, because anybody can survive a good market. The market's doing the work for you. If you can't make it through the ups and downs of a market, you truly don't have a business. And I think that was a big thing. It's just like, okay, I'm not just getting in the mortgage industry to check it out and head out, a few years later. As of right now, this is my plan to be in lending as my lifelong career. So it's like, kind of buckle up, because if you're going to do this, there's always markets up and downs in the market. And so this isn't going to be the first one. It's not going to be the last one. So that was a big thing. And at some points it was literally as simple as make it to next month and still be here. And then that just kept, okay, then do it again next month and next month. And then it ended up almost being 2 years. And there were some good months in there, but there was a lot of bad ones too. And then here we are, we've finally gotten over the hill and it's starting to come down, and I'm having my best couple months possibly ever, or at least in a long, long time, right now. I think this month is my best month since I've been with Movement Mortgage, and got a lot more in the pipe too. So it's nice to finally see that paying off. But I think that was my motivation, just to keep it simple, is just survive this and, you'll be rewarded later.
Yeah. It sounds like if anything, it's just have no plan B, really, right? It's just like, just stay down, stick to the grind, and it'll work itself out over time.
Yeah.
Compounding interest.
Yeah. To be honest, like there was some times where I kind of had to set an ultimatum. I was just like, hey, if you're not making money by this point, you might have to go at least find something else part-time to help, during when the market was really rough, like a year ago or things like that. And, luckily I was able to just barely make it and keep making it. But then another thing too, we got more questions to get to, but just believing in what we do. Like I'm not selling a timeshare or whatever. Like I believe in real estate. I invest in real estate myself. And I truly think it's one of the best investments you can make. So I think that's a big thing too, because we've talked about this before, I can't sell something just to sell it. Like I genuinely, like when I was talking to people over the last couple of years, market was hard. I'm like, you're going to be so thankful that you bought right now, because when the market picks back up, your equity is going to go up. all you got to do is refi and you'll thank yourself. And that we're already starting to see that with refinancing people. And
Yeah.
they've got these really good deals on price, credits, and all this stuff. So I think that's another big thing, is just enjoying and believing in what we do.
Yeah, it makes just a world of difference to make sure you're not having to feel grimy or sell
Yeah.
something that you don't even believe in the first place. So over the last like 4 to 6 months, there's been some changes in the real estate industry, and it's constantly evolving, just like everything else throughout the world. But with real estate and then mortgage lending, what do you think is the most important change or trend that's going to shape the future of how the mortgage business moves forward, as well as just how you do business in general?
Yeah, to be honest, and this is kind of maybe a no answer, but there's always things changing in this business, guidelines changing, product changing, rate changing. It's constant. And to be honest, I try and obviously stay informed so I can best advise my clients and things like that. But I also try to not pay attention to it too much too. Like I try and know what's happening, but then say, okay, is this really going to make or break my business, or is it going to be fine? So not to get into anything specific, I'm kind of like that way with politics too. Like whether X or Y gets into office, is it really going to affect? I still got to go to work the next day. I still got to pay my bills. I try not to care too much about that stuff. Be informed, know what's going on, and then just continue to move forward. So, and it's kind of a no answer, but that's my honest answer right there. Is big things are changing. Like a lot of people with the NAR realtor stuff, we're like, oh my God, like it just freaking out. Look where we're at now. Has it really changed that much? No. Okay. Like I try not to really worry about stuff until you really have to. And then that cuts out about 99% of the stuff that you would need to. So that's my answer.
I like it. Stick true to yourself and is a very organic answer. We're going to move into more personal, and then we'll wrap this up. I got 2 more questions for you. So what personal challenges have you faced throughout your career in lending over the last 5 years, or even just in your life, that have helped shaped your approach to not only just your business, so like maybe have changed the way that you do business, but just look at life in general? I know it's kind of a loaded question, but if you have anything specific that you can go back to that you're like, oh, this really changed my view on how I do my day-to-day activities or work related as well.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a whole 3-hour podcast on that one question. I think a big one for me is just 110% accountability. Like there could be stuff that happens outside of your control. And even if it isn't necessarily your fault, or just say that it is, just be like, okay, well, if this bad thing happened, what could I have done better? You know, what, like just not being like, oh, this client just, this happened, or rates made me not be able to get this deal. It's just be like, okay, well, I mean, that's just the business. This is a tough business. And just taking extreme ownership, shout out Jocko Willink, a great book, and just accountability, and just like anything good or bad that's going to happen is going to happen. And what did I do? Could I have done anything better? I think that is a massive thing. And it's been probably what I'm saying is it's been really top of mind lately of, you know, whether it be dealing with people shopping rate, or, you know, a difficult deal getting put together, you know, not just maybe in the beginning of my business, I would have been like, that deal's gone, you know, fighting for it a little bit more now. Like just maybe it's just more being educated, doing this for a longer time. I think that's a really, really big one. And when the market was down and stuff like that, not being like, oh, me, the market's down, just being like, well, this is the market. Figure it out, dude. You know, everybody else is dealing with the same market. It's not just you. So don't have a little pity party. And yeah, I think really stressful. It's 100% commission business. So you'll go, you know, when the market's tough, maybe you're not getting that steady paycheck like a lot of people. So that's been a big learning curve is, you know, you got to plan for markets like that. You know, be, you know, still have fun and all that stuff, but make sure that you're putting yourself in a position to be able to outlast and stand through those markets, and being smart financially and things like that. And then just in life, I mean, I guess the kind of the same answers is just, I don't know, just continuing to push yourself to always move the goalposts, which is a bit of a struggle with me because I'm always shooting for stuff. And then sometimes you hit the goals, sometimes you don't. But on the ones you don't, just be like, okay, well, why didn't I? Let's figure out another way to get there and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm answering the question that exactly how I want to. There's so much to unpack there, but I guess just for sake of time, I'll leave it at that. But
yeah. I mean, I think you answered it. I mean, to the best of your ability with the time crunch we're on. But like you said, I mean, we could go on and back and forth on that question for a while. But I think what you just said is not a lot of people do, which I think is why so many people stay stagnant or comfortable, is like, for example, you're saying like, I'm going to set a goal to try to move the goalpost, and sometimes you don't hit it. And then what I think 80% of people do that are trying to hit their goal is they'll just retry doing it again without changing anything. But what you should be doing is reassessing what exactly you did from start to finish, what worked, what didn't work, and then make those adjustments so that the next go around, it's like, what's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I don't know. I think a lot of people can become victim to that. Just because everyone wants quick results, quick answers, and it's like, oh, if it doesn't work, let's try it again. It'll work. Something went up. So
yeah,
I think that's super important.
I think, and I'll keep this really, really short. I think another thing that just came to mind too, and I really like what you said, and it kind of made me think about it. Saying yes to opportunities, whether you're ready for it or you're not, just freaking say yes. Like it doesn't need to just be about business too. If it's like friends, like, hey, let's climb Mount Rainier. And even if it's like, well, shoot, money's a little tight, or, oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. I've never done something like that. Just freaking say yes and figure it out on the way. Whether it be life experiences, moving to a new place, which we've talked about before, work stuff, opportunities, like that's the only way that you're going to actually grow in business, as a person. I don't want to just live a life where, I've had regrets or things like that. I think that's a big thing too. It's just saying yes to stuff. And saying no to stuff is important too. Like you can only say yes. Saying no to stuff is just as important because it frees you to say yes to the things that you actually want. But just taking chances and jumping off the cliff and kind of building your wings on the way down sometimes, I think, has been a common theme in the last few years of my life as well.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I'm sure you have some experiences that you can share on times you didn't say yes or times you did say yes and you wish you would have said no. And we'll talk about that in a later episode just because I know we're getting close on time. But let's wrap this up, dude. So with all that being said, you've obviously been successful doing what you've set out to do, which is be a successful loan officer over the last 3 to 4 years in the lending space, just in general for the last 5. I grew up with you. I know your hard work ethic. You're one of my best friends. And I think anyone that's been around you or knows you knows that you're an easy and good dude to be around. And you go 100% on everything that you do. So moving forward in the next 2 to 3 years, what are some of your personal goals or business goals that you're like, hey, I'm going to hit this or I'm going to make this happen? And maybe it's not a specific goal, but it's like, I just want to wake up and clock in and just know that I'm happy and can pay for the bills. So do you have anything in mind that you can think of that you're setting out to do over the next 12 months?
Yeah, great question. I love that question. And it's a hard one to answer because I want to do a lot, but I also want to be realistic. So I think big things. Well, first, I got kind of something big coming on the lending side, kind of another avenue where I'm going to be able to help even more people, which I'm really excited about. And I'm working on, and I'll talk about, in upcoming episodes. Just doubling down on my lending business. I feel like I'm kind of hitting a stride now, and I just want to keep riding that and building the business. And then personally too, I want to grow my real estate portfolio. So I have 2 rental units now, and I want to get really, really serious and start scaling that because I love this business, but I don't want to work until I'm 65 and then go and get to enjoy my free time when I'm older. So I want to be able to enjoy that now. So I want to really get after the investing, building that passive income and stuff like that, because another big thing, kids probably in the next couple of years, I want to be able to spend time with them. I want to be able to spend time with my wife. I want to be able to travel and, live the way that I want to live. So how am I going to be able to do that? grind now, make the kind of sacrifice now and put some money into some investments that can help me do that. So I think that's really been a theme the last couple of months for me is like, how can I figure out how to grow this thing faster and scale rather than just buying a property every couple of years or whatever. You could save up a down payment. It's getting creative and going after that. So that's my top of mind thing right now.
10x is better than 2x. I don't know if you've read that book, but that's a super good book on scaling quicker. And just for the fans out there, if you're looking for a good read, maybe we can, I think I've read it before, but it's been a minute. Maybe we can read that on this next one. But dude, appreciate you letting me ask you some questions. All great answers. I think anyone listening, whether it's you're a plumber or you're in sales or you're in real estate or you just want to tap in and get some insight, I think anyone can take advantage of the answers you gave. So appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate, first of all, the kind words that you just said and right back at you about, we've known each other since we were literally like 11 years old, running around Fruitland playground at recess. So even though we were kind of we were kind of enemies when we first started, the jock crew versus the skate crew. So I'm glad we bridged that gap, and here we are, 20 years later. It's crazy. Yeah, dude, shout out for you. Love this pod. It's a good way to keep in touch every week, and I'll look forward to interviewing you on the next episode, brother.
Yeah, we got some good ideas for some upcoming episodes. As always, if you guys have recommendations or you want to hear more about what Kyle talked about, maybe more in depth on one of those questions or answers he brought up. I know we're going to talk about some real estate portfolio and building up rental properties, something you want to talk about. We'll do that as well. But thanks for tuning in. We'll skip buy and sell this week, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Heck yeah, let us know what you want us to draft too. So it was a pleasure, brother, and we'll talk on the next one.